everybody, and welcome to another episode of Alex's Afternoon Art Show. Today, we are drawing Ryu, specifically from Street Fighter 6, and I'm going to be talking a little bit about some perspective-y stuff, maybe, but our core focus today is lighting and lightning. So we'll be touching on that stuff, and yeah, realistically, most of that is going to be in the kind of digital painting phase, which I've now applied. There's also... I mentioned last time there was the new intro, which you'll see in a moment, again. But there's also a couple of little elements which I was supposed to do, but I completely forgot to do last time with the Spider-Man 2099 video. So yeah, I'll roll the intro and then I'll introduce you to the one new element. Anyways, intro. Okay. So, as you can see, the one new element is my little overlay over my webcam. So I've now got a border. I'm just hoping that it's correctly aligned because it's hard to see on the sides of the window in OBS. So I'm just hoping it's properly aligned. I'd hope I don't have to fix it again later. But yeah. Anyways, so I got my drawing laid out. Now there's bits of this which I'm not sure what I'm going to do with. I think I'm going to need to make a few minor adjustments to his face. His eyes don't quite look right to me. His eyebrows, the shape of them isn't quite right. They're too pointed. They need to be this kind of needs to round in a little bit more. They're a little too thick, a little too pointy. His beard is a little too high up in his face. Little things like that which I think I need to adjust. And I think because obviously we're doing the kind of the classic Ryu aiming or readying the Hadouken to shoot towards the camera, which means we're going to be dealing with some very intense lighting. He's going to have very heavy blue lighting along his front, and then the edges here are going to be very dark lighting. The background I think is mostly going to be black. I might maybe do something with the background. I'm not sure. I might think about something with the background. I might maybe have like paint strokes or something in the background. I'm thinking about it. We'll see what happens. But yeah, the one thing which is not going to have this lighting applied to it is his headband. His headband is going to be pure red the whole time. No shading, no nothing on it. So I want that to stand out. So this is technically speaking going to be the first of a couple of videos I'm going to do, which are technically me redoing characters which I did in the Marvel vs. Capcom 2 mural, which I wasn't fully satisfied with how they looked. So maybe, technically speaking, this is one of those, even though it's not directly related. Like there's going to be a few more of them, which again I'm kind of like, I wasn't fully satisfied with how I did that drawing. So I'm going to kind of do them again, do the character again, but in a different pose, different thing, something new with them anyways. And this is, technically speaking, this is one of them, because I wasn't fully satisfied with how Ryu looked in that, and I figured this is also a good opportunity to draw the new Ryu, because I like his new design. I like his new design quite a bit. It's simple, effective, as Ryu's design normally is, but it's new. It's new, and he's got a beard now. Again, redesign 101, give your character a beard. But yeah, anyways. Yeah, so when it comes to his hair, I think his hair is about exactly what I want, of where it's kind of messy, as it normally is. It doesn't and it kind of frizzes at the edges here. Obviously this is going to be cleaned up. These are very messy edges here. I'll even zoom in a little bit so you can see. These edges are kind of messy, they're not quite right. I'm not fully sure how I'm going to do what I'm going to do when it comes to the actual the emanating ball of the Hadouken. I don't know if I can necessarily get away with doing it as is. I don't know if I can necessarily get away with having it just as, or drawing it in, because I kind of want to avoid having to draw most of this hand. This hand here looks a little weird. But I might have to bite the bullet and then just paint in the Hadouken later. I think that's probably what I'm going to have to do. I need to draw in these fingernails, I forgot to do that. But yeah, I think I might just begin, and then I will, yeah, I'll be back to get more into detail on the colors. So yeah, I think that is enough preamble. I think it is probably a good idea to actually get into this here now, and then maybe I might come back in here and there if I have little things to talk about or adjustments to mention, but otherwise I think I'm mostly just going to be going straight full bore all the way to the colors. Anyways, I'll begin. Okay, so that is our details done. That was a time-consuming process. Let me just tell you how long that was. That was 2 hours and 46 minutes, including a break. That was pretty much like a substantial portion of this already. So I've decided that I'm going to do the Hadouken later. I'm going to paint that in later. Probably, I don't know when I'm going to do it actually. I'll probably do it after the colors. I'll probably even just bunch it into this next section that's going to get sped up. But yeah, so I had to do a lot of this stuff here with the doing these little kind of tears and rips, because some of it appears to have, or the kind of cloak in a lot of the reference I'm looking at tends to have the kind of ripped look to it, kind of tattered sort of thing. I had to do a little bit of work on fixing that hand. You might have seen me looking at my hand like this. That was because I was trying to gauge how, like, creating this sort of hand shape kind of thing would look, and so I was working with that. Because obviously the idea is he's kind of molding it like it's like a ball. So that's the kind of hand shape that you should be having, like you're holding a ball. Sort of. He's not technically like holding it, so he shouldn't have like, it shouldn't look like he's like too gripped onto anything. But yeah, there came a point, I don't know if you noticed, you might have noticed it, of where I just started whacking out like these really long lines, these really thick lines like with here, because I was just thinking to myself, I'm going to be here for the entire rest of the day if I'm being this picky. And yeah, like stuff like the trousers, they're obviously supposed to be baggy, so I'm kind of like, you can't portray that very much in what's visible here. So I was just kind of trying to do these little lines that it kind of like, it stretches out from there. Yeah, I mean, I brought down his beard, I made his eyebrows a better shape, I changed his eye shape a little bit so that his eyes come down into have a bit more of like a tilt to them, because that goes a little bit more with his head shape. His head shape has a bit of a kind of like a kind of a cartoony quality to it, but I mean the Street Fighter characters are effectively in their proportions cartoon characters, hence why I had to go through all this effort of doing all this additional muscling here, these horribly gigantic sculpted muscles, and it's the same thing with these kind of like muscular stretch marks on the chest, even though they shouldn't be the most visible because his chest is coming in with his hand position. Even though he's doing this, his chest position should be coming in a little bit. So maybe these lines don't need to be there necessarily, but I put them in anyways. There's the very kind of missable ab lines there. Now I said before that I'd be talking a little bit of perspective, and by a little bit I do mean the tiniest little bit. So for example, his head is a little bigger than the rest of his body, and that's because the rest of him is kind of like, this part is tucked back, so this is obviously smaller. His chest is tucking back, so it's obviously a little smaller. But then the cloak here is pretty big because it's closer to the camera because this shoulder is facing forward. Well, yeah, this shoulder is facing forward, and then this arm here is obviously a lot bigger, because this is the closer arm to the camera. It's basic perspective stuff. I mean, that's the kind of idea. Anyways, it's a lot more slight here because his body is mostly kind of hunched in, so there's not a huge amount of like distance between things. I mean, I could have exaggerated it more to add more of the foreshortening, more to make the perspective more exaggerated. That's kind of what I did though with the Spider-Man 2099 drawing, so I didn't feel as much of a need to do it here because the foreshortening isn't really the point. With this drawing, it's more so the lighting. And speaking of which, it's time to do the colors so that I can then actually do the lighting afterwards. But yeah, I'll do these colors and I'll try and get through them as quickly as humanly possible because I'm already 3 hours into this recording. And yeah, I've not even done any of the actual meat and potatoes of this. So yeah. Okay, so it is now the following day, because just to give you a little bit of context, it was a near 4-hour recording of just the details and the colors yesterday. So I made the executive decision to just do the rest of this, do all the lighting and or all the painted stuff and the lighting and all the final shading and all that stuff today. I still anticipate this probably taking about 2 hours, all in all, just because of the amount of detail I'm going to have to put into the lighting and everything. I think it would behoove me to do the Hadouken first, maybe? To do something like that first, I think. So I'm going to do it as a swirling thing, because a lot of these tend to have it be kind of like a swirling sort of shape, sort of thing, and that's how I'm mostly going to do it. So yeah, you might also be wondering, well, I've done these colors fairly flat, and I've not put them in any sort of direction leading in any kind of lighting. Well, that's intentional, because what I'm going to have to do is, obviously I mentioned at the start of this that I'm not going to be shading the red of this because I want it to maintain its sharpness and its starkness as opposed to the rest of it. But yes, so what I'm going to be doing is, after I do the Hadouken, just to get an idea of what I need to do, I'm going to be applying my lightest color, which is going to be the same kind of blue that the Hadouken is going to be, sort of. And then I'm going to have a very, very dark blue as our darkest color, so that we have very sharp, harsh lighting coming across on the skin and then on the robe and on the gloves and everything like that. So, yeah, I'm also, and then I'll go back over at like lightning to the Hadouken and stuff like that, because we're supposed to be replicating the kind of the anime look here, sort of, maybe-ish, the iconic image anyways. But yeah, something which I didn't mention whenever I was doing the coloring, which I thought, which I think is worth mentioning, is that obviously Ryu's hair is much darker in Street Fighter 6. It's closer to black than in a lot of the other games. In a lot of the other games, it's kind of brown, which is a bit odd. But I decided to make it like a slightly brown tone of black, very slightly. Also, a lot of the time his robe is kind of like a orangey color depending on the stuff that you see, but I decided to make it closer to what it is in the game, being like a kind of a wine red color. And then obviously his the ring here is bronze. It's very close to the brown here, maybe a little too close, but I mean that'll look different whenever the shading goes on. It won't matter anyways by that point. So yeah. I tried to make his trousers a little duller, but they're still quite bright as a white. But yeah, so what I'm going to do is I'm probably going to I will do the Hadouken on this layer. We'll see here, because I'm going to need to yeah, so I'm going to need to create it as like a ball, more or less, and then do the painting around it, sort of. I think that's what I'm going to have to do, is I'm going to have to put basically the ball and then do that basically as its own thing, then do the painted stuff around it. Yeah, well, I will do this now anyways, and then I will be back whenever I'm starting the actual painting. So we'll do the Hadouken first, and then we'll see what happens. Okay, so that's kind of what we're sticking with the Hadouken. So we've got the kind of swirly thing going on. I'm going to be adding lightning and stuff and more effects to it later. I don't know that I'm actually going to apply any particular glow to this. I might apply the glow to the lightning, maybe not to this. Because this is obviously paint strokes, the glow will kind of harden a lot of the edges unless I make it really soft, which is kind of gonna obscure a lot if I do that. So I think it would behoove me to leave it as is. So now, I mean, later I'm going to have to change the background as well, because the background is a little the background is obviously too neutral. I'm going to change it to be pretty much entirely black, except I'm going to enhance the glow that we've got going on here. I'm just going to add a little notch, which is going to make this a little like have a little bit of a light behind this, so that will give us the effect of it glowing, even though I don't actually have to make it glow, because it'll harden too many of the edges. So yeah, that's kind of what I'm going for so far. I decided that I am going to have the Hadouken over everything, because it gives it this kind of nice softness to the hand, like it's like he's like pressing his hand into snow. It does obscure some of the lines, which is why I went back over it with a bit of an eraser to clean out some of the kind of unnecessary extra lines, and yeah, that kind of just to clean it up a little bit, just so you can still see the other hand underneath, to reassure myself that I didn't waste my time in drawing that hand, because that hand did take quite a while. But then again, sometimes you have to kill your darlings. Not actually, don't. That's not actual real advice. But you know, sometimes you can't get too precious about these things. You need to paint over them or do whatever. Same sense, yeah, I didn't know whenever I was doing it initially that I would be going over it. In the same sense, I also don't think I thought I was going to make the Hadouken this big. It did pull out a little too much maybe at this side, so I might go back over it again later. We'll see what I decide to do. Yeah, anyways, let me do some of this painting here. Okay, so that is our shading, well, our painted shading done anyways. So yeah, as you can see, I kept it with the very intense lighting. I mean, you can still sort of see the skin tone in there. I mean, it's still clear that this is the skin tone, this is the white, this is the kind of wine red. You can still tell which is supposed to be which, you can tell it's supposed to be brown, so on and so forth. A lot of it is obviously obscured by the Hadouken. The more I'm looking at the headband, the more I'm feeling like it looks a little unnatural. Now, in the same sense, that is kind of the point that I was going for. So we will see how I feel about it as we're going. I might put some of the detail shading on the headband, just to give it something. I don't know if I want it to be purely flat. we'll see. Because, yeah, now we're going to be doing the detail shading, which, I mean, I'm probably just going to turn off the Hadouken again for, because I've already got kind of what I need in terms of the details going on here. I should probably do the background in a minute. Background won't take very long. We're already an hour and a half in, just from what I've been doing so far. So, yeah, as I was saying, I was accurate whenever I said I was kind of anticipating about 2 hours of extra work to do. But yeah, so my brain is failing me, but I think, yeah, we're just going to do the detailed shading now. So yeah, I'll get my brushes and everything ready, and then I'll do that here. Okay, so that is our shading completely done. I decided halfway through just to apply a little bit of the detail shading to the headband, just so that it has a little bit of shading to it. What do you call it? The texture will do some work to that, as will the what do you call it later? The gradient map. So for now, what is next? Next, we've got the really tiny stuff left, pretty much. I gotta do a light line, which will take 5 seconds. But first, I think I should do the background. So I'm basically just going to get the color like that, and then just go like really dark blue, something like that. Get a really dark blue. Just whack it onto the background like that. We don't want it to be quite as dark as our black, because we don't want things to get lost. And I mean, I'm going to be adding a light line anyways, so maybe I might actually even brighten it up a tiny bit, just so that it's not quite so. So there's a little bit of differentiation here. Maybe make it duller. That'll be maybe how I'll get away with it. So it's not quite so bright a dark blue. Something like that. Yeah, that looks a little better. And now I will grab something like this, and then I'll grab a lighter one, lighter blue. We don't want it to be exactly the same. We want it to look softer so that it gives us the impression of a glow. Maybe not this particular type of thing. Maybe something more like that. Yeah, that's kind of alright. No, we do want it to be a little bigger than that. Yeah, that seems to work. That's about what I want. That's good. Right, now we want to do... you know, I'll do the light line first, and I'll just do the lightning while I'm doing this. So, yeah. And I'm just going to use a white brush for this. So let's use white for the light line. But yeah, I'll do this first, and then I'll come back in and do the lightning. But I might as well actually just do that as part of this, and then we'll just run over the gradient maps and stuff like that afterwards. Okay, let me just do this quickly. Okay, so I'm feeling like that is all that stuff done. That's the light line. The light line was pretty easy. No point really doing much of it on the band, on the headband. It's a little difficult to get any kind of sense of which way the light line should hit. So I just say no, not at all. And I had to do it on these little bits of the tears on the robe, because if I don't, then these will kind of just fade into the background. Lightning, easy enough, and it does more or less nicely blend into the edges of the actual Hadouken, which is nice. Otherwise, it would just kind of get lost a little bit. But yeah, a lot of this doesn't like cleanly end in any way. It doesn't like trail off fully, but I think it's fine enough. So the last thing before I start really wrapping up is I'll just slap on a signature. I'll zoom right the hell in for this. That'll do. It's a little thick, but that'll do. Now it is light line time, or not light line time, jeez. Gradient map time. This has already been 2.5 hours, and this is the wrap up of everything. This is the latter chunk. This is 6 hours, more or less, of an art video. Nearly 6.5 hours of an art video. Dear God. Now what do I need to do? Go into layer. Adjustment layer. Gradient map. Right. So, the gradient map that we're going to be going for is we're going to be making this thing blue as hell. So, I'm going to make this one a deeper blue. A bit of a deeper blue on that one, and then this one should be a light blue. Light blue like there. Now in the interim, we're going to make this somewhere like that, somewhere like that. We're going to want this to be darker because this should be dark. And then yeah, that should work for us more or less, is what we're looking for. Brace yourself. Yeah, overlay is maybe not what we want. We want soft light. Turn it down to about 60-ish%. Oh, really just wash it out actually. But it does what we want it to do. Let's turn it down to, yeah, about 60%, and then we're going to run a couple of duplicates here on this and see what we got going on. So this one we're going to want to make luminosity, so that will darken things further. So we're going to turn this one down to about 20%, because that will make it darker. We want it to be dark. Now we're going to want a color burn, and that should bring out the rest of our colors a little bit nicer. We're going to want to turn the color burn to pretty low opacity though, because yeah, otherwise it's going to make things a little too dark. I'm going to turn this down to about 5%. Because even on 5% you can see the difference. Yeah, hell, maybe I'll turn it up to about 10. Because we want it to do something. We don't want it to actively detract. So the color burn makes our white whiter and our darks darker. So it kind of emphasizes whatever color schemes we've got going on already. Let me now grab my texture, and then that should be us, more or less. We'll actually be able to do a bloody outro for this thing, because oh god, like a big part of the reason why I split this into 2 recordings is because last night, in the evening, whenever I was doing the last chunk last time, it was a case of where it was I'd been at it for so long that my arms were getting tired from drawing. Now we're gonna put our texture to, I would say, a pretty low opacity. We always want it to be overlay. I'd say we're gonna stick this to about 20%. We want it to be visible, but we don't want it to. We want to just add a little bit of spice to things. We don't want it to overpower anything in particular. So let's see. Can we see it on some of this? Not really, to be honest. I might need to turn it up a little bit. Because the place that you should be seeing it is actually on the edges of the lightning, because that's where it will most likely disperse it. So this is already on 20%. I might turn it up to 25% or 30%. I'm seeing it a little bit more on the face here. 25 might be a little bit better. So again, this should disperse the edges of things a little bit more. Yeah, like whenever I turn this on and off, you can see it basically makes our blues glow a little bit, which is what we want. We want things to kind of glow up. And naturally this is going to make things lighter, which is why the color burn is necessary, because the color burn and the luminosity layers and all that stuff make it darker. And with the texture on, things become a lot lighter. So, yeah. But yeah, that is us, I would say. That is us done. That was pretty arduous, but I think it has come out very nicely. So yeah, that was... How long have a recording? Yeah, as I say, that's 2.5 hours now, just on today's supplemental recording, plus yesterday's near 4 hours, which should have us at about a little over 6 hours. Not quite 6.5 hours like I was saying before, but yeah, that is about 6 hours of recording, which does make this, I think, the longest one, because even the Sentinel one, which I did in the Marvel vs. Capcom 2 videos, I think that one was only 5 hours. And that was previously our longest one, I think. Yeah, I think that was previously the longest one. This is now the longest one. This might end up even being the longest actual video. We'll see, because, yeah, these things tend to stretch a little bit. But yeah, I think that it's pretty good. I think I did a pretty good job with this one. I feel happy with this. But yeah. So I will just do our outro, and then I will leave you with the end of this. Because dear God, this was long. It was fun, but it was long. It was arduous. My arm's already tired. I think it's just the residual from last night is kind of catching up with me. But anyways, I'll do the outro. So yeah. If you like the video, do whatever it is that you normally do, whether that be, liking or not. I don't mind particularly, but of course I prefer if you like the video. I'm not going to lose any sleep over it. But again, of course, I would prefer that. If you want to subscribe, it's the same deal. Of course, you don't have to. If you're already subscribed, that's good. But yeah, you've presumably seen a YouTube video before, so you know where the button is. But yeah, if you don't want to do that, that's fine. I would of course prefer if you did, but you don't have to. And yeah, if you choose to watch the next video, I will see you next time. So yeah, with all that said, that is us. So I will say goodbye and I will leave you. I will not occupy any more of your time. So yeah. Bye-bye.